Hello, dudes and diadettes. Is that a thing?
It's absolutely not a thing.
Should we make it a thing?
Absolutely not. Hi, everyone. I'm Sam Ferrara, and I'm a type 1 diabetic.
And I'm Alex, and I'm not. But we're really excited to bring you a new segment to the channel that we call T1 Daily, where we'll bring you your daily bolus of T1D news. So, we got a really exciting article to start today. It is really focused on insulin pump adoption, as in seen climbing in 2021 with the wearable boom, and this is based on a real-world survey. A lot of things to talk about today, so let's just make like a lancet and get stuck in.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, I can absolutely see why wearables are climbing. I mean, wearables are climbing no matter where you are. Everyone's wearing their Fitbit. Everyone's tracking their exercise. You've got, your car knows where you are. No matter what you're doing, there's some kind of device that's part of it. And tech as a whole is growing. So it should make its way into the diabetes space, I think.
So I have a question for you.
Sure.
How many diabetics, type 1 diabetics, do you think wear an insulin pump?
I mean, off the top of my head, I'd think almost all of them, right? But having kind of dived into this article, and we found out that it's under 50% at the moment. I think they think it's about 51%. As of 2021, they think it might get up to 62, but those numbers seem shockingly low, considering that we think that this is the standard of care, at least, in our household.
The 4 type 1 diabetics that I know in person all have insulin pumps, but I do kind of understand, right, when you think about maybe the age, like if you're really young.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of diabetics are diagnosed, I was diagnosed at 4 years old, and I can't imagine giving a 4-year-old a pump and just, see ya, honey, don't die. So definitely that's something to take into account. Also, even though you're diagnosed young, you do get older. And as you get older, it's kind of hard to, adapt to different technologies, and why, if it ain't broke, why don't fix it?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I can see that too. They're anticipating the most uptake to occur in teens, which makes sense. You've been given your insulin probably by your parents for the most part.
Yeah, definitely those teenage years are when you kind of gain your independence. That independence, along with, your cell phone and your car, it's also your diabetes, right? You're going to school, you're on your own. You need to make sure you can care for yourself. And it's a big move, and not everyone can handle it. But if you can, it really is a great tool.
So it kind of goes from you becoming your own pancreas from your parents, who were originally...
Let me pass down the pancreas to you.
The pancreas. The pancreas
the
sword of destiny.
Pancrepower.
The Pancrepower, that's it. And how old were you when you first got your pump?
I want to say like 9 or 10, and I was at middle school, and I was the coolest kid because everyone thought I had a pager, and I let them think that. I totally lied.
Who paged you?
My mom.
Low blood sugars paged you. Alert, alert, alert. That thing didn't even alert you. What was the name of the first pump you had?
I can't even remember the name. It was so old that it was Medtronic before it was Medtronic. It was Minimed was the name of the company. I think my dad bought stock and they plummeted, so let's not talk about that. But it was a Minimed pump, and it resembled something of like a Nokia cell phone, except for you couldn't play Snake.
I love that sort of. It was the Nokia brick phone of insulin pumps at the time.
Exactly. We haven't quite gotten to the razor of of insulin pumps just yet, but I'm really hoping we get there soon.
Well, that's sort of the exciting part, right? With this uptick that they're anticipating, a number of new players are going to be coming into the game, elevating the technology in the space, and maybe giving you the iPhone of insulin pumps.
I'd like the iPhone of insulin pumps. I'd like to think that, with a monopoly of sorts, Medtronic has been owning the space for so long that what they had is the best, and maybe that wasn't really giving them that push to do better. And I think with more and more competitors entering the market, this is where we're really going to see change in the diabetes sphere. I mean, I've been saying for years, even from a price and tech standpoint, my cell phone talks to space. It literally talks to a satellite. And it costs less and functions better than my insulin pump, which basically pushes a plunger. So I'd really like to see that, that technology to skyrocket.
Do you want to communicate with space with your pump?
I should be able to communicate with space for what I pay.
not going to argue there. But you said Medtronic, and as the article cites, it is the market leader, and is still anticipated to be the market leader for some time. But they're going to be taking some heavy competition from a company called Insulin and Tandem.
Well, I have not heard of these guys, but guys, light a fire under their ass, make them change. I mean, I'm not hoping anyone hurts, but I want to see better things for the community.
And if they currently are outlining about, the survey is based on about 125,000 patients with type 1 diabetes, and they're saying that from the about 50% of which use this pump, that's expected to potentially peak at 71%, which is incredibly high. I think there's a lot of interest for these other companies to get in there and create something great.
Yeah, and as we continue to go into this as we continue to go into this article, it does cite type 2 patients too, and I understand that type 2 patients are looking into alternate ways to give insulin. Injecting is becoming a thing of the past. I think overall it's becoming antiquated when there's all new technologies that can kind of act as these surrogate body parts as you continue. And with type 1 and type 2 diabetes in the game, I mean, type 1 diabetes being only 1.7 million out of like 34 million in the United States. When you make that number 34 million people that might possibly use, your product, suddenly that's something everybody wants to get in on. And I think that those advancements in type 2 diabetes are going to help boost that excitement for the entire diabetes community.
What's the devices that the type 2 patients use now to monitor the glucose?
That Libre.
Libre, okay. It's like the Dexcom operates similarly.
Yes, I call it the Circle Dexcom.
The Circle Dexcom.
So if you see on someone's arm a circle, it's a Libre. If you see kind of an oblong shape, it's a Dexcom.
Okay.
Dexcom oblong.
Oh, I like that. So what's interesting is that these type 2 patients who have already kind of experienced this wearable sort of revolution along with the type 1s, they're, especially if you're an insulin intensive type 2 patient, may be interested in also getting in the pump game.
Yeah, I mean, again, injecting is becoming a thing of the past, and it also limits you. I mean, wearing an insulin pump is basically recreating the functions of your pancreas, right? You've got your basal rate. It runs all day. It runs at different amounts depending on the time of day, which is something your body would do. We all know the dawn phenomenon. We know all these things that happen in our bodies, and your insulin pump can really account for that, whereas a long-acting insulin, if there's any change in your life, if you're sick, if you sleep through your workout, it can really change how you feel and how you're controlled for the rest of the day, whereas an insulin pump really helps you hone in and pinpoint those control zones. And I think that's why it's becoming something that's catching on, because who wouldn't want better control?
No, I absolutely agree. It's interesting too, going back to our conversation on type 1 diabetics without a pump. And, I do also remember working with an older gentleman who had type 1 diabetes, and he just knew the needle way so well.
Yeah. Listen, technology is great, but not everybody needs to use it. This has been working, and some people have really figured it out. And for them, this is the way it works best. There's also a big commitment when it comes to your insulin pump, right? You are wearing this piece on your body. You have a wire that's going to get stuck on every damn drawer in your house. I mean, these are things you're committing to. And if that's not how you want to live your life, I don't think anyone should tell you you have to live it otherwise. Just make sure you're doing what's right for you and taking care of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Going back to these companies that are also in the game, Insulet is known for the Omnipod.
Ah, the Omnipod. Beautiful. No wire, no door handle. It's very nice. I've really looked into this. It's definitely something I have minor concerns over. I've heard that sometimes the connection can break to your cell phone. And that's the big fear. And I know we're talking about tech and how we're all so connected. And, what really happens when that cell phone, you drop that cell phone, you lose power. When you're relying on these things, you do need to know how to use, a needle. You do need to go back to those antiquated ways, because at a certain point you can only trust yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you definitely need to learn it all, even if you're, connected.
Yeah, I mean, the most thing that I want from these systems is something that is reliable, because even the Dexcom is like, no signal, no data, no help.
Yes, you do like to wake me up when the Dexcom is going off for you. I'm sorry, honey.
The Dexcom wakes me up first.
We should change those settings.
It's a chain of events. And then the other company, Tandem, is actually expected to get their new pump, which is another automated insulin dosing system, FDA cleared relatively soon. So keep an eye out for that.
Yep. I mean, my hopes are high, but I've learned not to get them too high. When the Medtronic company came out with the closed loop system, I was done. I was like, I've got a fake pancreas. I don't have to do anything anymore. And when that continuous glucose monitor part of the system, was placed on me, it didn't work. It didn't stick. There was always problems. And I've actually went back to my Dexcom. So I now have a Dexcom CGM and a Medtronic pump, and they don't talk to each other. And now here I am speaking two languages. So I'm really hoping that they can deliver on this.
Speaking pretty fluently, if I do say so. So my question for you is, say for instance, all these pumps start coming out and it becomes like an iPhone update program. What would an insulin pump, the T-Slim XS Max with a Retina display, do for you?
I think it would do it all. I think that I would be able to set my own ringtone. I think that it would give both insulin and glucose. I mean, if we're going like Sam, what do you think would be like the ultimate tool that you could use? Like, it would be small. It would have no wire. It would be able to be accessed through your cell phone, so you don't have to excuse yourself to go to the restroom every time you need to take insulin. It would call your mom if you go too low, or your husband for that matter. Sorry, honey. I just think it would be that pancreas for you, but better.
And communicate with space.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally communicate with space.
So for those of you guys that like numbers, just to sort of recap, they're anticipating the growth of wearables within the T1D community to grow to about 21% in 2021, and then another 17% of growth in 2022. So, really exploding from that 51% where we're currently at to almost a peak at 71% in 2024, 2025. And, the exciting part is it's all down to these companies who are bringing out products that you actually want, maybe.
Yeah, they're solidifying that standard of care. If we can hit 71%, that is really what they are. Whereas right now, it's still 50-50. I mean, it can go any way. And if they roll things out that are not up to the standard, it could actually end up going the other way. People may not trust the tech. So I really challenge these companies to produce quality equipment.
You hear that, Medtronic, Tandem, Insulet? We're counting on you.
We're watching.
Well, anyway, guys, thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the show. This has been Alex and Sam.
Have a great week. You can do it.